I'm Devon.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Dion.
And here are 26 piano tips.
For every letter of the alphabet.
From A to Z.
Z?
Z?
Yeah, Z.
That's not right.
Z,
A to Z.
Z. I'm Australian. I know how to speak English.
Arpeggios.
Take a chord and break it out by its individual notes in an ascending or descending order. Arpeggios can work great as an exercise or as a way to spice up a few simple chords in a pop song.
The blues scale.
The blues scale is one of the most useful scales to know when it comes to melodies and improvisation. Not only can you use it for more of a minor bluesy sound, starting from the root, C in this case, but you can also play the same notes over the relative major, which in this case would be E flat, to access a brighter, more gospel-sounding side of the scale.
Counting, it's counting.
I like to make counting as easy as possible by looking for smaller groupings in complicated rhythms. What About Us by Pink is a perfect example. Instead of counting like this, 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a, try looking for smaller groupings, like 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2. It's the same rhythm, just a little easier to count.
Dynamics.
This is a fortissimo dynamic. This is a pianissimo dynamic. At the piano, I like to think of dynamics in terms of the physical weight that I'm putting into the keys. The more arm weight I use, the louder the sound. The more I rely only on the weight of my fingers, the quieter I play. Here are a couple fun exercises in dynamics. The first, see how truly softly you can play a passage. This can be quite the challenge. The second, see how long you can draw out a crescendo. You may be surprised to see just how far the dynamic continuum extends.
Extensions.
When you hear the term extensions, you might think jazz, but extensions can be useful in pop music too. Take Sunday Morning by Maroon 5. Using just triads, it sounds pretty lame. But throw in some extensions, and it starts to sound a lot more hip. So if you're working on a song and something about it feels bland, experiment with extensions to add a little extra color.
Fingering.
Do you ever start a song without thinking and then immediately regret your choice of fingering? Well, before you start playing, find the highest note and the lowest note in the phrase to help find a sensible place to start. There's always more than one way of doing something, so be sure to experiment to find out what feels and sounds the best to you, making sure it's the easiest way to play the phrase.
Glissando.
Here's a glissando. Glissandos, or glissandi, are for all ages and all species. They're a bit of a novelty and have few practical uses, but they work nicely as an energetic transition between sections in a song. Pro tip, make sure you find a glissando technique that is painless since there's quite a bit of friction involved. A couple of options are to use your fingernails or multiple fingers.
Harmony.
There's no harm in learning a little harmony. Even just a cursory understanding of the key signature and the relevant major or minor scale will save you loads of time when learning a new song. Chances are most of the bass lines, melodies, and chords will come straight out of that 7-note harmonic package, so to speak. And once you start to realize this, it's like all of popular music is suddenly at your fingertips.
Inversions, yeah.
Having trouble shifting between chords that are far away from each other? Look for easier inversions for the outlier chords. For instance, this D major chord shares 2 notes in common with the B minor chord and is probably more easily played in first inversion when it comes after the G major chord. By using inversions, I can literally play this chord progression with my eyes closed because every chord is under my fingers. In fact, every chord's under my fingers. I can play this one and 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 this one, this one, this.
Boom, boom, it's a boom, boom, it's a jamming.
Don't be afraid to call up your friends to jam, even if the thought makes you a little nervous. There are many benefits to playing music with others, and the sooner you start, the sooner you'll see improvements to your musicality, your time feel, your ability to recover from mistakes, and more. I recommend jamming over the 12-bar blues. Only 3 chords, so it's a great place to start.
Key signature.
There are 12 keys, and thus 12 key signatures. That's a lot to remember. So next time you see a key signature, remember this mnemonic. Battle ends, and down goes Charles' father. That's the order of flats, and it's the opposite for sharps. Father, Charles, goes down, and ends battle. Now, if you see a key signature with 3 sharps, you'll know that it's F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. And in sharp keys, a half step above the last sharp names the key. That gives us A major, 3 sharps. It's a little different for flats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Say we have 5 flats in a key signature. Well, the second to last flat names the key. So 5 flats is D flat major.
Legato.
This style is called legato. Watch how the notes barely overlap one into the next. You can see it clearly in the falling blocks. This articulation works nicely when you want a smooth, connected sound, especially when pedaling isn't an option.
1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and metronome.
Finding the old tick-tock of a metronome tiresome and tedious when practicing your timing? Why not try a drum loop instead? There are plenty of drum machine apps and heaps of options inside apps like GarageBand. Plus, it helps me feel like a rock star.
Notation.
If you're used to watching our tutorials and want to start to learn how to read music, look for the patterns in both. Our falling blocks are almost like tipping a page of music on its side. So, moving from one white note to the next moves from a line to a space to a line to a space. Or, if you're playing root position chords, for instance, you will find that those gaps mean each note is on a line or each note is on a space. These gaps widen when you're playing fourths, fifths, sixths, sevenths, and octaves. Once you get used to those patterns and how they relate to the piano, reading music becomes much, much easier.
Octaves, 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 octaves.
To avoid getting a stiff and sore arm when playing lots of octaves in a row, try to release the hand in between each pair you play. You might think of it like a jellyfish in the water. Allowing your other fingers to rest on the keys is also a great way to improve your playing by sense of touch. Remember, the more stiff your hand is, the harder it's going to be to move to the next notes. The sustain pedal is a powerful tool, but no one likes a muddy mess. It just sounds a bit too gross. So a good rule of thumb is to release the pedal every time the left hand bass note changes. If it still sounds muddy or notes are clashing, trust your ear and release it when you think you should.
Quarter tone.
Ever wondered why guitarists always seem to get the most attention? Well, I think it's because they can bend pitches and access those visceral emotions that are hiding in the cracks between the notes. Sadly, this just isn't an option on the piano, but lots of keyboards have what's called a pitch bend wheel or joystick. If you have one on your keyboard, then I encourage you to use it. It works especially well for soloing, bending up from the minor third or fourth, or for making chords sound retro like an old vinyl record.
Register.
Register is the height or range of the sound on an instrument. So at the piano we have many registers since its range is so wide. We can play in a lower register, or a higher register, or a combination of many. You can change the color or mood of a song by simply adjusting its register.
Sing.
Singing at the piano is a natural fit, since air isn't required to power our instrument. However, you'll need to rely on muscle memory if you want to effectively sing and play at the same time. The best way to do this is to practice the heck out of the accompaniment so that you're literally able to have a conversation over top of it. Check it out. Sailing takes me away to where I always heard it could be.
Triplets, triplets, yeah.
Triplet timing is easy once you know how it sounds, and at the moment, you'll hear it all over hip-hop.
Yeah, Now these are on the eighth notes, now it's triplets, 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 triplets. Una, corda.
Trying to get your soft phrases even softer? Use this soft or una corda pedal. It works differently on grand and upright pianos, but the end result is similar. On a grand piano, you can literally see the hammers shift over so that they're hitting one less string than before. On an upright piano, the hammers shift closer to the strings so that they travel a shorter distance and therefore generate less sound.
Voice leading.
Voice leading, in my opinion, is the holy grail of piano. It's like sanding down the sharp corners of a square and turning it into, dare I say, a squircle? If this concept is new to you, then I would recommend writing out the notes of each chord in a passage in root position, and then adjusting their inversions so that the common tones are in a line. Now this sequence of chords will sound much smoother, and your hands won't have to jump around nearly as much.
WALTZ Waltz.
Turn any song into a waltz by playing in 3/4 time with a left-hand chord pattern of the root note on beat 1, then the other 2 notes from the chord on beats 2 and 3 while the right hand plays melody. To spice things up, experiment with different registers for the root note in the left hand and different voicings for the other 2 notes. This will open up the sound and give you a richer sounding accompaniment for the melody.
Xylophone. Xylophone.
Learning the piano means you also have a head start on other instruments that share the same keyboard layout. Xylophone, glockenspiel, vibraphone, melodica, accordion. The piano, after all, is a percussion instrument, so once you've learned it, you'll be ready to tackle other percussion instruments.
Young and old.
It doesn't matter whether you're young or old, it's never too late to start learning the piano. If you're an older beginner, it's pretty common to try to play songs that might be a little bit too hard for your current ability, which is frustrating. So, why not try playing the simple stuff really well? Set yourself achievable targets and record your progress. That's the best way to get the most out of your practice and your new passion.
One of the most important parts of practice is getting a good night's sleep. If you're sleeping fewer than 6 hours, your brain won't have a chance to strengthen the neural pathways that you've developed that day. So practice every day, get good sleep, and you'll learn songs a lot faster. If you need to wake someone up from too much sleep, hit them with a different Z, Zydeco. Please send us your song ideas to requests.hdpiano.com. Then go find us on social media. We love hearing from y'all. If you are on YouTube, make sure to subscribe and drop us a comment. And that's all for now. I'm Dan. I'll see you over at hdpiano.com, the home of the hybrid piano lesson.